Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to swap out the trigger in your First Strike T15. Now, before we get started, what are you going to need for tools? You are going to need a small variety of different sized Allen keys. I myself am using a 564 Allen key to help push through some of the cross pins in the trigger assembly itself. I am also using a 332 Allen key to help push through the two cross pins that hold your trigger assembly in the lower receiver. And I am also going to be using a 316 Allen key to loosen the screw in the grip. Right. I also have some bearing grease on hand to help do some maintenance on the actual full auto kit. It has been sitting for a while, and since the season's now starting to ramp up, it's time to do some preemptive maintenance on the guy. So, what perfect timing with me wanting to swap out that trigger that I can get in there, and you know what I mean, all right? And I'm also going to have some oil on hand. I don't think I'm going to need it, but it's better to have it than not. Okay. So earlier, I guess this year, I picked up the TSP or Tactical Sports Parts brace trigger. Open this guy up, may as well show you. This is it. Now, pick this guy up just because I have one on one of my other T15s, and I really do appreciate the straight edge trigger. I'm not too sure why, but it just seems to be a little bit more crisper. But outside of that, I mean, the aesthetics of this thing looks really cool, especially when you want to compare it to the stock one. I mean, it is pretty nice. Anyways, so I figured since I got to install this guy, I will show you how to swap out your trigger in case you've picked up something aftermarket as well. Now, while I am in there and taking things apart, I am also going to be replacing the trigger reset spring. It's been a while since I've actually even had to worry about it in this assembly. It's probably a good 3-4 years old, so I figured, I'm in there already. Never had to change it. It's probably going to be due soon, so may as well do it now, right? Okay, so let's babble more stuff. All right, we are not going to need our upper receiver, so we can take that off, but don't forget, before you take off your upper receiver, always put it in a semi, pull the trigger, make sure it's decocked, okay? Last thing, again, you want is that bolt to go flying back out and cause a muck on your upper receiver, okay? So, take off that receiver. We'll set this guy aside, over there. There we go. So, next step, we are going to loosen the grip a little bit. We don't need to take the grip off. This is just my personal preference. I like relieving a little bit of tension that sits on this spring right here. Just makes it easier to take out the selector switch. It's just my personal preference. It's something I would recommend. I know some players like to just basically pop this guy out, but then when you try to stick it back in, it winds up being a little bit more harder because of the little nubbin in there because of the spring tension. Either way, 316 Allen key, loosen the screw, loosen the grip a little bit, and that's it. Next, we're going to remove the selector switch. So put your finger on the selector switch on the opposite side, push down, up, pop that guy out. We'll set it aside. All right. Now, next, we are going to take out the cross pins that hold in the trigger assembly itself. And that's what this 332 Allen key is for, okay? So, one pin in, push it out and across. Don't forget to keep your hands on this because it might be a little spring tensioned from the trigger assembly itself, okay? Set your pins aside. Don't lose them. Let your trigger assembly slide out nice and easily, okay? This guy's got some grease on it, so I'm just going to set this aside quick. Give it a quick wipe down because I really don't want greasy fingers, honestly. Okay, next. We'll actually set this guy out of frame just so you guys can focus on this. Here's our old trigger, and here are all the guts that are inside with it. The pawl, there's a spring in there, and there's also a spring underneath the trigger pawl itself. We have to remove everything. So, first thing we're going to do is remove the trigger from the trigger assembly, and you can do that quite easily just by using that smaller Allen key, the 564. Place it on this cross pin. Should be able to just slide this guy right out. Sometimes they might be a little bit more difficult than others. I think I might go up to the next size Allen key just to get a little more oomph. There we go. Pops apart. Have a look at that spring. You know, it's not too bad when you put them side by side, but you can definitely see the wear difference between the springs. This guy's more straight. This guy's got a little bit more of a kink to it. So it's probably a good call to swap it out. All right. Where's that cloth again? I am just going to clean up some of the crud that's in here. This should be a pretty quick and easy swap over. There really isn't too much to this guy. Okay. Next up, we are going to want to remove this cross pin that holds in the pawl. Now, don't forget, it is spring-loaded because there is a spring underneath it. So when you're taking this cross pin out, just be really careful when you do it. Okay? So we're going to push this guy out. There's the cross pin. Fingers are still on top of the pawl, holding it in place so nothing goes flying. There's your trigger assembly, or your trigger pawl. And underneath is that spring. Don't lose it because you need it. You're going to put this spring into the new trigger. Okay? Give this a wipe. I'm going to give this guy a quick wipe just to get all the gunk and anything else that's on there. Okay, let's grab the new trigger. So, in the new trigger, and even in the old trigger, you might as well put them side by side, there is a small, let me see if I can get this lined up for you guys to see. Not too sure if you can see it. I'll try to throw in a picture for you to see better. There are two little, well, there's actually only one, sort of little countersunk ring in there, and that's where your spring is supposed to sit into, okay? So, we're going to take our spring. We're going to place it back into that area, and there's actually a little bit of a round cutout in the trigger assembly itself. Hopefully you can see that, to help keep the spring seated properly, okay? Next, grab your trigger pawl. Here you go. We're going to place this back into the trigger. You're going to try your best to line up the hole so that your pawl and the hole in the trigger line up. You're going to grab your cross pin. We're going to stick that guy back in. That's it. Done. All right. Next, we're going to want to start to reassemble everything again. So you're going to grab your trigger assembly block. You are going to, in the trigger itself, there is a small hole. Again, I'll try to get a blow-up picture for you. You're going to place the spring into that hole and line up the hoop of the spring with the hole in the trigger, and then line everything up over here with your trigger block and grab your cross pin and feed that guy through. Now, for some reason, mine's a little on the snug side. I guess that's a good thing. But when you insert it, you can even use an Allen key just to help flush it out. When you insert it, just make sure that that pawl or that cross pin on both sides, on the trigger itself and on the block, are not sticking out at all, okay? Don't want that guy to get hung up on anything inside the lower receiver. Okay, so since I'm down here, part of the maintenance that we're supposed to do on this guy is add some bearing grease. So grab a little bit. You don't need tons. I'm going to use the Allen key. Probably bad, but whatever. Put it on the trigger pawl itself. Okay, and we're also going to add some grease on top of the sear, but we're going to do that not quite yet because it'll probably get smeared as I reinstall it into the lower. Okay, grab your lower. You're going to reinstall this guy carefully by feeding it back in, making sure the trigger finds its way through the slot for the trigger itself, I guess. Okay, holding it down with your finger, you're going to grab your cross pins. Don't forget, your ball bearing goes on the right-hand side, so you want to push this guy back in from right to left. It should go at some point when you get it lined up. Of course, it can't go smooth today. So I'm going to, there you go. There it is. Got it. I was going to swap to the back, but found it. Got it. Do the same thing for the one in the back. Okay, they both click into place. You're done. Next, you're going to grab your selector switch. Pop that guy in. Going to use the smaller Allen key just to push down that little spring-loaded nubbin. As soon as I pull down the trigger a little bit and relieve the tension. See, when you do that, it almost clicks into place itself. You don't even have to try to push down the little nubbin in there. Again, I find this easier. Okay, once your selector switch is in, we're going to tighten down the grip with that 3/16 Allen key. Snug, quarter turn. You're done with that. And that's it. It's on safety. New trigger. Yay. Let's see. I'm going to bring back that lower quickly. I'm going to plug everything in. Just give it a quick try. Yay! It works. Sweet. Oh, I forgot. Grease. That last little bit of grease on that trigger, on the sear of the full auto kit. It's part of your maintenance. Let's try that again. Yay! It works. Okay, guys. Hopefully that helps you out. It's pretty straightforward. It doesn't take a lot of time. If you have any problems, questions, or concerns, as always, post up a comment, shoot me a PM. I'll help you out as best I can. Cheers, guys.